Hey, yo, what is up, everybody? My name is Chandler Molyneux, and welcome into the Act First Show, the show that helps online coaches get better at sales. We're mixing it up today. We're going to be talking about sales management. Usually I talk about how to improve your individual sales skills, but I wanted to bring something new to the table here. And the reason I was inspired to create this video, create this podcast, is I see a massive issue in the coaching space. I see a lot of people who have really shitty sales teams. And the reason they have shitty sales teams is actually because of the CEO. It's not because of the salespeople. The reason your sales team sucks is because of you. And I know that's harsh, but here's the problem. All right. The problem is threefold. Number one, you don't know what to do, meaning you don't know how to manage your sales team, which hopefully this video gives you the principles on how to do that. Number two, you're lazy and don't think that you actually need to, which is a fucking problem. Or three, you expect that your salespeople are already experts. I understand that a lot of online coaching companies are hiring outside sales reps, and the outside sales rep training company is claiming that they're fully trained, and maybe this creates the preconceived notion that you don't actually have to train them, but you fucking do, okay? Sales is a muscle like anything else, right? And when we don't go to the gym, we are going to atrophy. And when we don't train our salespeople, their sales skills are going to atrophy. So the first thing here, it is your fault that your sales team sucks. Okay, if you turn the video off or you're thinking about turning the video off, then you're only perpetuating that problem. But if you take ownership and say, yeah, okay, Chad's right, now you're open-minded, get open-minded to listening to what I have to say. All right. I've managed sales teams for the past 7 years. You know, my sales team and I, we've done over 8 figures of sales during that time. And there are 8 specific principles that I've learned that I'm going to give you today that I would say is like sales management 101. So if you do these 8 things, I promise you, you're going to be in a much better spot. All right, let's get into it. Let's waste no time. So the first one I have written down here is personal development is the foundation of your culture. Here is why. All right, sales, 90% of it is about conviction and belief. I like to hire sales reps that actually have no former experience and have really high levels of belief and conviction over sales experience. Why? Because like I said, sales is majority just a transfer of belief. If I can transfer my belief to somebody else, then guess what? I'm going to sell them. Here's the best analogy. Mom and daughter walk into a candy store. Mom does not want the kid to buy a lollipop. The kid wants the mom to buy the lollipop. Whoever is more convicted, has more belief in their stance, is going to win that interaction. The kid wanting to have the lollipop or the mom not wanting the kid to have the lollipop. Well, guess what? The same is true in sales, right? We have 2 stances. We have the client who thinks, XYZ excuse on why they can't accomplish this and shouldn't do the program. And then we have you, the coach and the coaching company, who believes that they should join the program because it's in their best interest to do so. Whoever has a higher level of conviction, a higher level of belief is going to win that. All right, well, hey, how do we increase our conviction? How do we increase our belief? We increase our conviction and belief by increasing our personal conviction and belief. Great. How do we increase our personal conviction and belief? We have a personal development routine. We have our life in order. We have our personal life in order. Okay, so I can't tell you, majority of the time that a sales individual is in a slump, when I've checked in with them, the reason that they're in a slump has nothing to do with their skill set, because majority of the time they've, closed people in the past. It's because there's something wrong in their personal life. But if we can make personal development the foundation of your sales culture and, arguably your whole entire company culture, but we'll just talk about sales today, then we can make sure that if the personal life's in order, that everything else is going to work. All right, so it starts with you in terms of personal development. How do we actually make this a part of the culture? It starts with the leader. You have to have a personal development routine. And I don't want to get too deep on that, but basically that looks like something for your health, fitness, and nutrition, something for your mindset, like reading books and podcasts, something for your spiritual life, and something for your relationship life as well. We'll go with those 4 categories, okay? But it starts with you as the leader. So what I do is When you're online, it's a little bit harder because they can't see everything that you do, but I treat my company chats as a documentation, almost as a vlog. So if I'm praying, I might send a picture of me praying or a video of me praying. If I listen to a podcast that I love, I might send them a podcast. If I'm reading a book, I might take a picture of the book, right? I'm documenting me doing personal development, and I'm showcasing that to the company and to the team. If you do that and that alone, that will start to establish a culture of personal development. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, I make it a part of the meetings, meaning I'll give, 5 to 10 minute talks, 5 to 10 minute speeches on certain elements of personal development. We won't talk about sales. We'll just talk about personal development, right? So you can bring it into your meetings. But I would say first start with the documentation. All right. But that's number one. We have to make personal development. And by the way, guys, all of this is work. So if you're starting to tune out and be like, oh, this is too much work, then guess what? You're not going to accomplish your goal. But if you're serious about accomplishing your goals, it's a requirement to have an effective sales team in order to do that. So personal development is first and foremost. All right. Number 2, sales non-negotiables for every single sales staff member with reporting. Okay, I got this from Andy Elliott, but it actually really, really works. So for closers, this is the sales non-negotiables, okay? And this is a daily thing, meaning every day they work, they need to hit this non-negotiable, okay? So here's what it is. For a person who's closing, all right, X deals closed a day, or X follow-ups done a day. And if you fail to do both, hit both targets, then there's a repercussion. Okay, so X deals closed a day, right? So do the math on this, right? Whatever their show rate is and their close rate is, we could do the math to figure out what their daily sales target is. Okay, so they either hit that, and if they don't hit that, then they have a target for the amount of follow-ups that they have to do that day. And it should be a stretch goal. It should not be easy. And if they hit one or the other, then they don't have to do the repercussion. If they fail to do both, then they have to do the repercussion. Now, the repercussion should be something physical that they hate, whether it's running 3 miles, whether it's doing 50 burpees, right? Each individual will come up with their own, or you could just make it universal and say we run 3 miles if we don't hit our sales negotiables, or we do 50 burpees. I'll leave that up to you. But every single sales rep closer is going to have non-negotiables in that format. Now for setters, it's X bookings a day or X new messages and follow-ups. Okay, so theirs is a little different just based on the metrics that they're judged on, but X bookings a day or X new messages and follow-ups. So same principles apply. If they hit one of those targets, they don't have to do the repercussion. If they fail to meet both of those targets, they have to do the repercussion. All right. But what does this do? This creates non-negotiables in their career. And there's repercussions, accountability if they fail to hit those non-negotiables. All right, now there should be reporting for this. Okay, so in your sales chat at the end of the day, they should report if they hit their non-negotiables or not. And also, if they have to do the repercussion, I want to see a picture. I want to see a video of them actually doing the thing that they are supposed to do. All right, this also brings that personal development element back into the culture. All right, so that's point number 2. Okay, moving on to point number 3. Consistent training. Now, the amount of training is going to be dependent on how big your team is. All right, so first let me define what training is, and then we'll talk about the consistency level of it. All right, so when I say training, I'm talking about you're getting on a meeting and you're training. And when I say training, I'm talking about actual repetition. Okay, so if you're a closer, we're repping different parts of the script. We're repping objection handling. If you're a DMer or a setter and you do the DMs and setting in text, right, in the Zoom chat, we're getting repetitions in of different objections or different parts of the script. Okay, so we're actually like doing the skill. We're not talking about the skill, we're doing the skill. All right, now this is going to depend on the size of the team. If the team is bigger, I would say we need more meetings. If the team is smaller, we need less meetings. So I would say less than 5 sales reps, 2 to 3 meetings a week is going to be good. More than 5 sales reps, we're looking at 3 to 5 meetings is going to be your requirement. Okay, now, point number 4 here, meeting structure, okay? So here's going to be the meeting structure. All right. So these meetings should be an hour long, and they're a combination of a lot of things. Okay. So when people pop on, the first thing you're doing is wins. Everybody's going to share a win. It could be a win from their personal life, which once again brings back that personal development element, or it could be a career win. All right. Then we're going to share 1 to 2 client testimonials. Okay, so this could be you sharing your screen and showing a video of a client testimonial, or it could be reading off if people did written testimonials as well. Now, what this does is it brings them selling back to the cause of the company, the mission of the company. If they just think that selling is for their own good, for their own money, they're not going to be as convicted to do it. But if they see that, wow, I'm selling these people and it's making a huge difference, because we're actually showing the testimonials of the people that they talk to, right? They're going to be more convicted to want to close more deals because the program is working. Okay. Now, after the wins and the client testimonials, the next thing here is going to be team projections. Okay. So when I say projections, basically what that means is here's where we're at. So here's the actual data of where we're at. And based on this data, this is where we are projected to go, meaning projected to end the month, to end the quarter, to end the week, so on and so forth. All right. So we're going over all the sales team data together as a team, and be transparent. Show them the numbers, right? They want to know where they're at as a unit. And now, as you're going through the data, you guys can also talk about the results, right? So if the show rate is down, right, include everybody in the conversation on how we can improve the show rate. What this does is it brings more of a team unity aspect into it, opposed to just you being the only person who is giving direction. And when the team is bought in because they're sharing their thoughts and ideas, and you're actually considering their thoughts and ideas and executing them, then you're going to have more of a cohesive sales team. All right. So we have wins, client testimonials, team projections. That usually should take 15 minutes max. For the remaining 45 minutes, we're going to get into breakout groups. Okay, so the breakout groups are going to be closers go into one room and DMers and setters go into a different room. All right, we do individual data. Okay, so every single member of your sales team is going to have their own Google Sheet where they can track their own data, and they should be the ones tracking their own data because it holds them more accountable. And if they don't track their data, they shouldn't be on the team. They should be fired. Okay, so it's a requirement that they track their own data. They will read to the team, here's where I'm at, and here's where I'm projected to be. This adds another layer of competition and another layer of accountability. All right. That should only take 5-10 minutes. So now you have about 40 to 35 minutes left. And that's when we get into the training. Okay. So that's when we get into the training for the remaining time. All right. So that's the meeting structure. That's point number 4. All right. Point number 5, conversation and call review. All right. So each closer should have one call reviewed per week. And that's by you, the CEO, or if you have a sales manager, by the sales manager. But they are reviewing the call and giving feedback. All right, this does a couple of things. It allows you to train them more, but it also makes sure that there's quality assurance there. So if somebody's really fucking up on the call and they're just being an asshole to the prospects, then guess what? You can fire that person because you have the information. All right, so one call review per week per closer, and one conversation review per setter per week as well. All right. Now, number 6, competition. Sales teams are growth oriented and they thrive off of competition. Every single month, you should have a competition. Now, use your own creativity here, right? If you want to do month-long competitions, you can do month-long competitions. If you want to do 2-week long competitions and mix them up, do that. If you want to do every week there's a new competition, you could do that. Or you could do a variety throughout the year of all of those things, right? And what you compete on, I'll just say this because there's so many different things you could choose. It should be a result that you're trying to drive. So if you're trying to drive more bookings, it's a booking competition. If you're trying to drive more follow-ups or close rate, whatever you're trying to drive, make the competition around that. And there should be a prize. Right? A prize could be a t-shirt. It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be a t-shirt. You could buy them a dinner out with their spouse, right? It can be more expensive like that. It's really up to you. Now, the other way that we can add competition to the culture and do it for free, meaning like you don't have to buy prizes, is you can also do weekly leaderboards. And I would highly recommend this. You can create a little graphic on Canva, and basically every single week you can post the leaderboard of closers and the leaderboard of DMers into the chat publicly so everybody can see. This is going to drive competition. All right, so that's point number 6. Point number 7, quarterly cuts. Okay, so every quarter, you should assess your sales team, assess the results, and make cuts. Now, are you going to cut someone every quarter? Probably not, right? But if every quarter you do an assessment and you're like, this person's average or below average, and I do not see them improving, then yes, I would cut that individual. But if somebody is excelling or they're doing good and everybody is doing good or excelling, I wouldn't just cut somebody for cutting's sake, right? We're only assessing this every 3 months, and we're cutting people who are average or below average, and we don't see them getting it turned around. Now, what does this do? This raises the standard. Every time you cut somebody that's performing average or below average, it raises the expectation and standard for everybody else, saying, hey, I'm not going to accept average. I'm only going to accept good and great. Great. So I'm cutting the average people, and it motivates the winners even more. It shows them that you actually stand by what you say and that you actually do have a standard for this company. All right. So don't underestimate that. There is so much power in that, and people are afraid to do it because they don't want to come across, and I've been there, right? But they don't want to come across as a dick, right? But the truth is, it's going to help your winners even more. It's going to set the standard if you cut the average people. All right, the last one here, department communication is so important. You can't just leave your sales team on an island. We should be communicating with them in their respective chats throughout the whole entire day. We should reach out. You should have at least 3 reach outs every single day, bare minimum. In the morning, there should be some sort of hype, motivation, inspiration, asking people what their targets are, right? Everyone's getting jacked up. Middle of the day is checking in on how we are doing, seeing if there's anything that you can do as the leader to help. And then end of the day is more of a report system, right? How did they do? Did they hit their non-negotiables? Did they not hit their non-negotiables? If they didn't hit their non-negotiables, did they do the thing that they said they were going to do and go for that run and do those burpees? Now, the other thing outside of those 3 check-ins, the other systematic communication that you should have is you should have what I like to call the bell system. Okay, so the bell system in your full sales team chat, every single day you should have daily booking targets. So you should have a daily booking target and a daily closing target for the team. All right, so there's going to be a leaderboard, and every day it starts off, let's just say that your booking target is 5 calls a day and 2 closes a day. So the leaderboard will say 0 for 5, 0 for 2. The first person to book a call will drop a bell in the chat and then update the board, 1 for 5, 0 for 2. Let's say, the first person to close the deal, they drop a bell emoji in the chat, and then they update the board, 1 for 5, 1 for 2. So basically what this does is it keeps the team in communication. It also has an element of accountability, and it has an element of competition as well, right? This has been huge for my sales teams in terms of keeping the communication going. And what I've noticed is if there's a high level of frequency of communication with the sales team, their results tend to go up, not down. All right, y'all. Those are all 8 points that I had. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys like the sales management content, like I said, this is like a trial experiment. Please let me know in the chat if this is the type of content that you like. I have tons and tons of stuff I can talk about on sales management. But yeah, if you like the video, thumbs up, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.